Well,
Hi, Chris. I offered Perkins and my colleagues $1 each to ask you the first two questions unrelated.
Sorry before we get going, and I'll get back to you right after. But just first, good afternoon. But wanted to address obviously the news of the day that people will be curious about with regarding Jalen Ramsey. So really, after a couple of weeks of discussions between ourselves internally and Jalen and his representation, we decided that it was probably in the best interest for all parties to move forward. So I will say these decisions aren't done quickly, and they're not taken lightly because we spent a lot of time this off season working through this, talking through things. At the end of the day, Jalen did not ask for a trade. So we went through the process and just felt that after numerous conversations and then talking last week with Jalen and his agent, that it was best to move forward, and it was best interest of the Miami Dolphins and for Jalen Ramsey. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Do you expect to trade him before the draft for a draft pick and other assets?
I don't know. Trades come together at all different times. You've seen from before the draft, day of the draft, during the draft. Like I think A.J. Brown was during the draft. It happened. When it happens, it'll happen. And if it doesn't, we'll deal with it then.
And then my other quick thing for you, I was just really curious the past couple of months, why did you decide not to restructure Tua, create $19 million, and use that to sign the best possible trench players, defensive tackles, offensive linemen, obviously you had Daniels, and make sure you had the best possible trench play on both lines? Why was that decision made not to restructure Tua to create that money?
Yeah, we decided we just felt we didn't need to. I think, James was a player we're very happy to get. We're still working through things roster-wise, and with the draft approaching, I would say, the strength of the draft this year aligns with where our needs are, where people would say our needs are. So from that perspective, we just felt that there was no need to restructure Tua and touch the contract, and that we could operate and keep building the team. And that whole process will continue through the draft like it always does with the June 1st and all that. And when we've done that throughout the years here.
Did Jalen want a salary adjustment?
No, he's not.
So if you didn't ask for a trade and you didn't want more money, why is this happening?
Really, those discussions I'll keep internally. I'm not going to get out here and talk about it, but we had a lot of discussions on it, and from both sides, and at the end of the day, we felt this is what was best for the Dolphins and for Jalen.
Chris, is this, moving on from Jalen, how recently did this come about? It doesn't seem like, just based on the free agency strategy, like you were making moves with the idea that Jalen was not going to be part of the team this year.
No, I think when you're talking through the off season and all these conversations we're having throughout the off season, you're still working and you try to prepare for scenarios. So, again, this was a long many discussions, I would say, throughout the off season. So this wasn't anything we rushed to and just said today, let's do this. So we're prepared. If he's here, we'll deal with it, and if he's not, we'll adjust as well. So we feel good about where it is. It's never easy to replace a player like Jalen. He was a good player for us. He's a good player. He'll probably be a Hall of Famer here. But for the Miami Dolphins going forward, we feel like this is the best chance to help us win, not only just this year, but in the future as well.
Chris, are you optimistic about Jalen being in a Dolphins uniform in 2025?
I don't know. I think at the end of the day, we're like I said, we're talking to teams. I've had some discussions with teams, and we'll see where it falls.
Is he unhappy schematically, or how he's used? Is that part of the equation here?
No, I'm not going to speak for Jalen and coaches. So there's just a lot of discussions we've had, and like I said, we'll keep those internally, and those stay between Jalen and myself.
The last time we spoke to you, you were pretty confident that Tyreek was still going to be part of this team's future. Is Tyreek another piece that might be possibly moved during the trade or after the trade?
That is not anything that we're pursuing. like I said, who knows if someone wants to come and give me 2 first-round picks, then we consider it. But as of right now, that's not anything we're pursuing.
Has anyone called about possibly trading for Tyreek?
No.
What, in your conversations with Steve Ross, not just about Tyreek, but certainly including, Tyreek in the conversation, including Jalen Ramsey and the state of the team, what's his mindset? How would you describe it? How hopeful can he be that this team is going to make some noise in 2025?
No, he's been, and I'm not going to speak for Steve, but obviously when you do a lot of moves like this, he's aware, he's involved in the discussions on this. So he's supportive of what we do, and he leaves those football decisions to us. So he's aware of everything, but he's been good in all our conversations.
Chris, how much of an effort, pardon me, how much of an effort was made to re-sign Calais, and in the end, was it just purely financial considerations that led to him leaving for Arizona?
We had talked to his agent a couple times throughout the spring here in the off season, and we made him an offer, and ultimately he decided to go play for the team that drafted him. So happy for him, and at the end of the day, he did a great job for us. We wish him well, and but we're excited for what we could possibly add here on our D-line here in the future.
With Calais departing, Toronto instead retiring, this now with Jalen Ramsey, would you label this at least a soft rebuild or reset?
No, that word has not been brought up at all. We have a lot of really good football players on this roster still at some places that impact games, so that word has not been used at all. And our goal is to win this year and keep winning for sustained success in the future.
But going off of David's question, that's multiple captains. It's more than like 30 years. I don't know the exact number of NFL experience. Are you confident that you have the leaders in place to, I guess, achieve the desired results in 2025?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. We do, and some of the players we added are quality human beings and people that have been leaders at other teams. But I do think in-house, when you have guys like Zach Sealer, just to name a few, you can say Tyreek, Waddle, Alec Ingold, Austin Jackson, the offensive line guys love, those guys, they lead differently. They're quiet guys and how they do it by example and stuff. So we feel comfortable. They know the expectations, as we talked about at the post-draft press conference. Mike addressed that and what he told the team. And so Mike and leaders on the team have been meeting all throughout the offseason talking about things. So very excited for where it's going, and they know the expectations. And so looking forward to see how this group responds.
What is your response? What is owner Stephen Ross's response been to the most recent domestic incident police call involving Tyreek?
I would say our statement that we released would probably cover it. I don't really want to talk about people's personal lives. I'm not going to speak for Steve, but Steve was obviously involved in putting that statement out from the Dolphins, so leave it at that.
Chris, did Steve want you to pull back on spending this year? It was pretty clear that you all did not participate in the high end of free agency other than obviously the Daniels contract.
No. Steve has never given that. Steve wants to win like we all do, and he's a fantastic owner that wants to do and wants badly for the Miami Dolphins to win, as we all do. For us, it's in a salary cap era, you just can't keep when you have high-priced players, and you've seen it around the league, the other teams. So you make decisions. We have 10 draft picks this year for the first time with that many draft picks. So excited about that. But at the end of the day, we were just looking to sign some good players at prices that we felt comfortable paying, and that continues all the way through the draft and post-draft, as we've been in touch with a number of players as well still that we're still tracking.
How would you evaluate your draft history, the 3 biggest positions in need: corner, defensive tackle, and guard?
I think defensive tackle, I think Christian's probably the biggest one. Last time we went early on a guy. I think we've drafted a few guys mid or late who've, been okay. But Christian is probably the biggest one. Corner Xavier is probably the best one that I've drafted. We've had a lot of success with some late round guys and the Cater Kohus undrafted and stuff like that. Cam Smith needs to come through at the end of the day. He's got to stay healthy and be on the field. He has shown some flashes, but this is a very big year of him. He knows what's expected because we can't hold his hand and wait for him anymore. And offensive guard, I think the last time we really went were Austin and AJ. Austin and Rob Hunt, sorry. And Liam. They're probably the last three we've drafted, and they've all been players that have helped us win games here. And would I say I'm perfect? No, I'm not. I said there's no GM that's perfect, but working with our scouts and our coaching staff and what we're doing and the scheme that they believe in and finding the fits for players is always important, and it's been a pretty smooth process the last couple of years.
Where a parent needs a corner guard and defensive tackle still unfilled, are you going to have to adjust? Are you willing to adjust your preferred best player available approach and consider more strongly players at positions of obvious need?
Yeah, it's always a balance with that, because it's sometimes the best players in need. Sometimes, like we've talked in the past, when I said, J.J. Watt, we had defensive players. If he's there, you got to pass on him. But, for us, it's the draft kind of aligns with a lot of the positions of need for us that people perceive and what's on our roster right now. So for us, we think at 13 there'll be good players there that will be NFL-ready players that are also filling needs. So if we choose to stay there, we'll have options, and if we move around, we'll take advantage of that as well.
Since the end of the last regular season game, Tyreek has said that I'm out, which I know that he's clarified. Jalen is, you've given him permission to seek a trade. That's two of your best players. That would seem, from an outsider's perspective, to be a red flag, indicating there could be in-house trouble. Would that be an accurate statement? Wildly inaccurate? How would you classify that?
I would say, it's for people to judge. I would say wildly inaccurate, but that's me. I think Tyreek has shown that, he clarified that, and he has been here in the building almost every day in the off season. Working incredibly hard. He's been in touch with Robert Prince, our new receivers coach, pretty much every other day. He's been working and doing all the things to show his teammates that this is where he wants to be. As I told you when we met with him after the season, he wanted to be here. There was no indication. So he has been, in terms of when he's in the building doing everything, he's been great. Things happen with players. You see it around the league, and you guys have seen moves like this that have happened. So they happen for all various reasons, and people don't talk about them obviously because they're between the player and the team. But no, there's no internal where people are trying to get out of here, and it's still, I think, the other way because people wanted to come back here. A lot of people that we did not bring back.
Chris, you've mentioned it a few times, but for the people who all they see of Tyreek is what he does on Sundays and what happens off the field, what makes you, Mike, the rest of this organization, trust him as a leader, as a captain? What gives you trust in Tyreek Hill?
Right. Well, I would say because when we're around him, when he's in the building and he's here, and we see how he works and everything and how his teammates interact, because they voted him captain, and we know with them, but personal lives, people are always dealing with it, and I'm not going to speak on anyone's personal life or what's going on. So all I can do is judge him for when he's here and when he's around the guys and the things he does that shows us that he wants to be here and he's a leader, and those things he's done for the last 2 years here before last season. And so for us, very optimistic about him. People deal with stuff in their personal life, and I leave that to them to handle until it gets to a point where we have to talk about it.
Chris, is your thinking that with Iffy and Ashton Davis and with Nick Morris and Elijah Campbell that your two starting safeties are in the building?
Yes. Yes, we feel good about those three, and Elijah Campbell as well is back. So we feel like we have some depth there, but we'll keep looking to add as well as we will to every position.
Chris, Mike mentioned at the end of the season about, discipline and accountability. Some of the guys mentioned that too. Now we had Tyreek and what's going on with Jalen. Where do you kind of view the team's culture now and going forward?
No, again, it's when people are studying culture and talking about it, it's always interesting because it's you take snippets of what it is or what one person says, and you never know what people have going on. We feel good where it is. Like I said, Mike, when he first came here, had his way of how he wanted to do things, and this has been a steady build of doing it to the way we want it done. And you've been around the guys, and so I'm not going to go into things, but we feel good where the culture is. Like I said, a lot of the leaders and players are involved in taking accountability for it as well. And so all the stuff we talked about at the end of the season has been great, and it's continued all the way through the offseason.
Will Patrick Paul be your starting left tackle, or do you intend to sign a challenger? And did you sign Liam with the thinking that he will again be your starting right guard, or just a swing guard and backup center?
In terms of Patrick Paul, yes, he will be our starter at left tackle. We'll get the first crack at doing it. We signed Larry Borum, who we felt really good about. We really liked him in free agency. And Liam will come in and provide swing versatility, and he'll compete for a job. And he's not promised anything, and he knows there's going to be competition for it.
You, in past years, I mean, this is your 10th draft, you've generally filled most positions with players that you felt could not put you in a desperate spot going into the draft, addressing those needs. This year, completely different approach where you've left glaring holes on your roster. What created this change, philosophical approach? I know you've mentioned that you feel like it aligns with areas of strength in the draft, but I know you have 10 picks, but you only have so many premium picks.
Yeah.
No, it's a good question. I think it's for us. We feel good with our scouting staff and what we've done, and our ability to be able to fill some holes with the free agency, like we've done with the guys we've added. The strength of the draft was a little bit of the reason where we felt like, okay, like we said, we're going to need NFL ready players. Like it's not like there's no like, hey, let's hope this guy's ready. Like these guys are going to be forced into play, and that's a good thing. So we just have to be right on the person and the characters of the guys that we bring in here that they're going to do that. So there was really no grand plan of doing it. It was just as we were looking through, because you really always look a year into the future, like when you're looking at like the quarterbacks evaluations, like who's the next class of college players. So you always try and get a peek of what the next year's draft class looks like in strength. So for us, it just aligned to where it made sense for us to invest in some younger players at those positions, and then we'll fill in the rest post-draft through free agency.
Told us that the team targeted Zach Wilson as the backup quarterback. Why was he the choice instead of a more veteran, experienced backup?
Yeah, I think as we were all going through it, and we spent a lot of time on that, with Mike and the offensive coaches and the scouts, and we just felt like Zach had a lot of potential and a lot of talent, and I know, you could go the veteran route with someone that more proven. Zach has won a few games. I know everyone's going to say his record and stuff, but I think for us and dealing with it and getting to know him, talking once he signed and getting to know him and going through it and going back to the relationships people had with him prior to the draft when he came out, we just felt that in talking to him and some veterans that he was the right fit and right choice for us, because we do think that his skill set really fits what our offense does.
Chris, would you rule out, regardless of how the draft unfolds, the idea of taking a quarterback in round one, as some in the national media has suggested?
I would say we have our starting quarterback, so I wouldn't be looking to it, but I'd never rule anything out, but I would not be looking to draft a quarterback in the first round.
Chris, obviously last offseason, you kind of made the decision to pay a lot of your core guys, Tua, Waddle, Tyreek, Ramsey. How do you look at that a year later, given where we are with Ramsey and Tyreek's year?
Yeah, I think those decisions are always independent of what it is. They had earned those paychecks and money and getting paid. So at the end of the day, yeah, I don't look back and can't. It's easy to sit back on everything to say, like, why did I draft this guy in the third round 2 years ago? They earned it. They're good players. So for us, we just move on and adjust and just keep going.
Chris, when you mentioned Mike had been in touch with team leaders this offseason, is there anything you can reveal to us about the nature of those meetings? What he said to them?
I will leave that for Mike to discuss with you guys here in the future. But it's been really cool watching it come together and seeing the players and Mike talk about through things and a lot of little things here because they feel, like I said, they feel good about what's going on here and the culture, and it's just cleaning up some little things.
Are these meetings typical, or is this unusual for this season, or more than usual this season, I should say?
I wouldn't say they're unusual. They happen. I said, maybe because of the urgency after the end of season that was talked about, maybe a little more frequently than it has been before. But you always do those things throughout the season when you set your goals for each season with the team.
Chris, with more needs than usual heading into this draft, would you be more willing than normal to entertain the idea or look for the idea of trading down to accumulate more picks?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely open to moving around in the draft, and but also if the opportunity arises to get a really good player, be open to figuring out a way to go get them too as well. So we do have needs, but I think you guys would even say that there's more good street free agents on the street now than there have been in a long time. Seems like a lot of veterans are waiting until after the drafts to see where they're going to sign. So there are opportunities to keep building the roster that way.
Chris, this is obviously a high-pressure league. Do you personally feel any more pressure in this draft or this season to succeed?
No, I feel pressure every year to win. I said you can't, if you don't have pressure and want to win each year, then, we're in the wrong business. We know what it is, for 2 years, we went to playoffs 2 years and people liked some of the stuff we did. And then last year we struggled early and couldn't get out of it. And now everybody wants us all fired. So you understand what's going on. You feel the pressure, but you don't let it drive you. You do your job to the best of your ability and work with guys, and you have to work under pressure. And so for me, it's just doing the best job we can and making good, smart decisions for the Miami Dolphins.
Chris, obviously, Steven, almost right after the season ended last year, and it comes out with a statement saying that you guys will be back. But there's this line in there where he said, "I'm not satisfied with the status quo." Might be paraphrasing a bit. Yeah. But has he issued any kind of ultimatum to you or to Mike that, you need to achieve X, if not, I will find somebody that will this year?
No, there's been, but listen, Mike and I want to win probably more than you guys in here, just to get you guys off our backs, But at the end of the day, like I said, it's the NFL. To me, the crazy thing is when you hear some of the really good head coaches in this league that have won all the time and people are calling for them to get fired after a season, it's just the nature of the beast. The NFL is, one of the most popular leagues in the world, and you understand that. And so, at the end of the day, you have to just work and try to drown out the noise.
Chris, when you say everybody wants us fired, how are you aware of that? Are you on social media, or do people in the building tell you that? Your wife? What makes you say that?
Oh, come on, Chris. No.
Do you read it yourself, or do people tell how?
No, I don't read anything. I don't have anything. It's
so
just.
How are you aware of it?
It's like my wife has a good friend that she goes, they go out, and she comes home and she'll be like, "Oh my God, that Omar Kelly said so many mean things about you," So, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, that's all right. He thinks he doesn't like me anyway. So, but no, I'm just kidding, Omar. But no, it's so you're aware. Listen, it's in this digital age where everything's on everyone's phone, and everyone has an opinion on stuff. It's great, and and I love fans. I said I had and I'll end it on this. It was hilarious. So I get this package that comes, like, so I open it, and it's the nicest letter, and it's like, Chris, like, hey, keep doing what you're doing, like, blah blah blah, like, wishing you guys all the best, you and Mike, and a longtime fan. And then I pull out there's a shirt in it. I'm like, oh, open it up, and it says, "Don't F this up." I was like, oh. So I was like, again, it's again, I appreciate the fans, and I love the passion of Dolphins fans. We want to win as much as they do, and we understand it. Again, we're trying to win. This is what this is all about, and so we're going to keep doing the best we can. Yeah. Yeah, with the full word, not after.
So what happened to the shirt?
Oh, it's hanging in my office. Yeah. So yeah.
Final two questions.
It's good as that's fine. On corner, did you all move on from Kendall Fuller for health reasons? And with Kohu, do you in your mind think he can be one of our boundary corners instead of our nickel? Or do you look at it as we need two boundary corners if we trade Jalen?
Yeah, like Cater for us he's like a Swiss Army knife, as you know. He can play both inside and out, so he'll have to step up for us, and very confident he will, because when he's healthy and going, he's a good, competitive, tough player. With him, that's kind of how we've viewed him this year as one of the guys that has to step up, as well as, like we said, Cam and Storm, all these guys, and the people that we add in here throughout the draft and post-draft as well.
And with Fuller, was it a health reason why he moved on from a modest contract for a starting NFL corner?
Yeah. I don't want to get into reasons for why, but one of my favorite people, just in the short time I got to know him, a really quality human being.
With the 10 years running the draft for this team, you were former director of college scouting. What have you learned about the process and maybe about yourself that will help you in 2025?
Yeah. Now, it is an interesting question because it's an evolution, and you kind of know how I work with coaches. So I've had, 3 different coaches here, and it is interesting, and they all have different types of players they like. So it's the adjustment, but, I think the one thing that's common is just finding those guys that love football, that are tough kids, that are competitive and love ball. And so I think there's some times when maybe I've veered a little bit, guys like, hey, we're just going to take the athlete or something, or whatever trait this player has, and you kind of like, okay, we'll make it work. Sometimes it does, it doesn't always. And so I think we do a lot of work, vetting backgrounds and personalities of players, and I think that plays a big role in the success of people, because, like you said, these players read everything that is said about them. You guys know. I mean, and for those guys to handle it, it takes a special player to be able to handle it, because they want to react to everything someone says about them. So, myself, I think for me, sometimes, maybe I defer too much, and I've talked about that, and that's probably the one thing I've learned, that as I've gotten more, along in my years, that the pushback is great, and that's what's great with Mike. We don't always agree on everything, but we always come into alignment to where we get to help the Miami Dolphins. So it's been really good working with them.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.